Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are starting today a new Mesechta Kiddushin, Perek Aleph, Chapter 1, Mishnah Aleph, Mishnah 1. And today's Mishnah is sponsored by the Garland children, Zecher Nishmas, memory of their uncle, Gavriel ben Moshe Nachum, and Shamash ben Aliyah.
Amen.
Okay, so we know that a Jewish marriage takes place in two stages. There's Kiddushin, which is very loosely translated as betrothal. Kiddushin is much more than what betrothal would mean. Betrothal, I think, means more like making a shidduch, making the match, or deciding on the match. But Kiddushin, as we know, is really marriage. Once Kiddushin is performed, a woman is considered married to that man. They can't live together as husband and wife, but she's married in the sense that no one else can marry her. Were she to cohabit with another man, it would be considered adultery. If you want to break the Kiddushin, you need a get. You need a divorce. But that's stage number one, Kiddushin. And then you have Nisuin, which is the completion of the marriage. When you go to the chuppah, that's the completion of the marriage. And that is when they can live as husband and wife. So the Mishnah says, Ha'isha niknes b'shleisha derachim. Literally translated, a woman can be acquired in three ways. Now, acquired in this context is talking about Kiddushin. It's not talking about Nisuin. Nisuin is what a chuppah. Here we're talking about Kiddushin, the first stage. And when we use this word acquired, so they bring down here in the notes, a husband does not acquire his wife as he acquires a possession. Rather, this term refers to the creation of the exclusive bond a husband has with his wife that prohibits her from marrying or cohabiting with anybody else. Meaning, so it's a kinyan in the sense that a kinyan has a certain bond, right? Creates a certain bond. And when you're dealing with an article, we call it ownership. Here, we're not going to call it ownership, but the idea is that there is a bond here between the husband and wife that he creates that binds her to him. Let's remember, according to Torah law, a man can have more than one wife. A wife can't have more than one husband. So the term nikne, she's acquired, is the idea that he creates this unique bond between her and him. That prohibits her from marrying anybody else. Okay, so they say here, rather, the term refers to the creation of the exclusive bond the husband has with his wife that prohibits her from marrying or cohabiting with anybody else. Okay. Another thing that is pointed out here, using the word ha'isha niknas, a woman is acquired, is the idea that even though she can get divorced against her will, according to Torah law, she can't get married against her will. Kiddushin can only take place with the consent of the person who accepts the Kiddushin, who's going to accept the means by which she becomes Mukudeshes, which we will see that there is a stage in life where a father can marry off his daughter. But the point is that whoever the Kiddushin is made through has to consent to it. So Ayisha Niknas B'Shleisha Derachim, there are three ways that a woman is acquired to a husband. The Kaina Es Atzman, she acquires herself, meaning the bond is done. B'shtei drachim, in two ways. There are two ways in which the bond is removed, and she can go ahead and marry somebody else. So the first thing is v'kaina es asma b'shtei drachim. I'm sorry, v'niknis b'kesef b'shtar u'b'biyah. A woman can be acquired to a man through kesef, through money. He gives her money, or as we will see, anything of value, and he says to her, Hareyat Mukudeshas li, you are Mukudeshas to me. Okay. Or he does it with a shtar, with a document. He gives her a document, and in the document it says, Hareyat Mukudeshas li. Okay. Now, this is not a ksuba, as they point out here in the notes. This is not a ksuba. This is a Kiddushin. This is the first stage of marriage. By the first stage of marriage, there is no obligation of a ksuba yet. Ksuba comes after the marriage. It's a separate document. It's a document of his obligations to her. This document is a document by which she becomes Mukudeshas, married to him. That's the second one. And the third one is Bibiyah, which means through an act of cohabitation, which were there he would say, you shall be betrothed, you harem Mukudeshas li, Bibiyah zu, with this act of Biyah. Now, this act of Biyah, which is an act of marriage, an act of cohabitation, an act of marriage, again, is only going to create Kiddushin. After this act of marriage and makes Kiddushin, they can't do this again until after Chuppah. This is just the means by which they create the marriage, create the Kiddushin. Now, at the same time, the Bartanura brings down, although this is an effective means of betrothal according to Torah law, the rabbis prohibited it for reasons of modesty. Come and say you're not allowed to do it. According to Torah law, it works, but the rabbis forbade it because of a lack of modesty involved. Okay. Now, one other thing that's also very important to bear in mind is, again, brought down here in the notes, whatever the form Kiddushin we're talking about, it must be performed in front of two witnesses. Now, that's going to happen literally in front if you're talking about giving her money, giving her a document. When it comes to cohabitation, witnesses only need to see the couple go into a private room. That's all they need to do. They don't have to see the actual act itself. Okay, so therefore, the Mishnah tells us she's acquired through three ways: money, document, cohabitation. Now the Gemara's Mishnah says, bekesef, with money. How much money are we talking about? Beishamai say, bedinar or beshabedinar. A dinar was a commonly used coin made of silver, and Beishamai say you have to use a dinar or a shabedinar. You can use the dinar coin or something worth a dinar, right? It doesn't have to be the coin, but it has to be something. It can be an object, but it has to be worth a dinar. Beis Hillel say, bepruta b'shava pruta. No, you can actually, it's enough to give her, make Kiddushin on her with a pruta, which is a small copper coin. Okay, and they bring down here in the notes, there are 192 prutas in a dinar. Okay, that's copper to silver. Okay, and it's also important to know the value of a pruta is the smallest amount of money that has any significance. Anything less than that, not considered money. So therefore, Beis Hillel say a pruta or a shava pruta or something worth a pruta. Now, the kamahi pruta. So pruta basically in those days was the smallest coin that was considered a coin of usage. Okay. Now, the kamahi pruta. Now the Mishnah says, and how much is a pruta? And meaning, how do you figure out what the value of a pruta? That answer is echa mishmoina be'isar italki. It's 1/8 of an Italian iser. An iser was a silver coin, and apparently it was. I'm not sure why we measure according to that. But the Mishnah says that if you want to figure out the price of a pruta, you have to figure it out by 1/8 of an iseri talki. Now, so that's money. The koines asma b'yad misas habal. She acquires herself through a get, bill of divorce, or the husband's death. Okay, that's how she becomes freed. Now, okay, so that's the part where it says that she goes free. Nobody else. Now, the Mishnah goes into another case of marriage, which is hayavama. Right? Hayavama is a situation, a man dies without children, and there's now a mitzvah, and she is now bound to one of his brothers for marriage, and if he doesn't want to perform the marriage, he performs chalitza. So how is the Yavama acquired? How does the Yavama become the wife of the brother? Hayavama niknas babiyah. A Yavama is acquired through an act of cohabitation. And when that act is done, they are fully married. By Yavama, it's not like the Bia makes her Mikudesh, has got to go to the chuppah. No, when it comes to Yibam, all you do is that act of cohabitation, and she is now your full-fledged wife. That's how she's acquired. There's no other way of a Yavama becoming the brother-in-law's wife. Money doesn't help. Shtar doesn't help. The only thing that works is Bia. The koines asma b'chalitza u'b'misas hayavim. But she acquire herself, meaning again, she will not, meaning as long as nothing has been done to her, either Yibam or Chalitza, she can't go marry somebody else. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not like, it's not adultery if she does, but she's not allowed to. But now the thing is, though, are there ways of her being freed from this bond? The answer is she acquires herself by Chalitza, the process of Chalitza, which is a process by which the brother-in-law, she removes his shoe and all the other things that are done. And by doing that, the Yibam bond is removed, and she's free to marry somebody else. Or if the Yavim dies. Now, let's say you're talking about a guy had one brother. When he died, right, he had one brother left after him. He would be the brother doing Yibam, and then he dies. Okay? So his death would mean now there's no one to have the Yibam bond to. And what if there's more than one brother? If there's more than one brother, the death of one brother is not going to accomplish that now she doesn't have a connection to the other brothers. However, Chalitza does accomplish that. When a brother does Chalitza, there is no more bond, no more Yibam bond to any of the brothers. But the death of one brother isn't going to break the bond between her and the other brothers. So that's what it says. She acquires herself with chalitza and with the death of the other. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.